Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for your patience as we've had a delayed start for our regular board meeting of Thursday, March 11th, 2021. We are just calling ourselves to order here at 2:16 p.m. I would like to acknowledge that the Sunshine Coast Regional District operates and is throughout the traditional territories of the Seashelt and the Squamish First Nations, and we are very blessed to be here. So we are going to start today's meeting, our regular meeting. I'm going to ask, we have an amended agenda in front of us today. And before I ask for adoption of that amended agenda, are there any other items that directors or staff need to add on to the amended agenda today, or any adjustments? Director McMahon?
Yeah, sorry. So many agendas, so many windows. I'd like to add 2 items of new business. One is the housing emergency, and the other one is the Dakota Ridge opening extension.
Okay. And then Director Hiltz, I saw your hand up as well.
Yes, thanks, Chair. For a new business item, Dakota Bowl Agreement.
Okay, so we have Dakota Ridge and then Dakota Bowl Agreement. Perfect. Okay, so with that, I am going to ask for a motion to adopt this amended agenda, please. So moved Director Toth, seconded Director McMahon. All those in favor? Thank you, motion carries. So we are going to move in camera. We do have 2 in-camera sections on today's agenda. Connie, as I said, I will text you when we are done. So I would need a motion that the public be excluded from attendance at the meeting in accordance with section 91J and K of the Community Charter. So moved Director Seegers, seconded Director Toth. All those in favor? Thank you, motion carries. And I'll just let IT close us out. Thank you, everyone, and welcome back to the regular board meeting of the Sunshine Coast Regional District and March 11th, 2021, and thank you for your patience. And we will now continue through our regularly scheduled agenda for today. And once again, we are an amended agenda that you can find on the scrd.ca. Just hang on. You sound a little bit better. Okay. So if I could get a motion to receive all minutes and reports and please. So moved and seconded. Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. First up on the list is the regular board meeting minutes of February 25th, 2021, Annex A, pages 1 through 40 of our package. Director Lee.
We were going to let Connie know we were back.
Yep, I've messaged her.
Oh, okay.
She's on her way back.
There she is.
But yes, perfect. Okay. So with the regular board meeting minutes of February 25th, 2021, are there any errors, omissions, additions, changes that need to be done before we adopt these minutes? Seeing none, I'd like to ask for a motion to adopt the minutes of February 25th, 2021, please. So moved and seconded. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Is there any business arising from the minutes or unfinished business? Going once? Going twice? All right. We have no presentations or delegations today, but we do have a number of reports in front of us, including some amended and some extra additional from earlier today. So first up, we have Annex B, page 41 of our package, which is the parcel tax roll review minutes of February 25th, 2021. These were for receipt only, so unless there's any questions on this item. Number 3 on your agenda. See no questions or comments. I am going to move on. The next up on the list is Annex C, pages 42 to 44 of our package, and number 4 on your agenda, and that is the Corporate and Administrative Services Committee recommendations numbers 1, 2, and 7 of February 25th, 2021. Directors, before we adopt these as a block, would you like to pull any of them to debate separately? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to ask for a motion to adopt the recommendations of the Corporate and Administrative Services Committee of February 25th, 2021. So move adoption, please. So moved, Director Ties, seconded Director Seegers. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Next up, number 5, which is the Special Corporate and Administrative Services Committee, Round 2 Budget Recommendations, numbers 1 through 45 of March 4th and 5th, 2021. And there's also the addition of pages, so this is an add-in, so it's pages 44A to N. So directors, before we adopt these as a block, are there any of these recommendations that you would like to pull out to debate separately? Going once? Going twice? Okay, I will ask for a motion to adopt the round 2 budget recommendations of March 4th and 5th from the special cast meeting. May I have a motion, please? So moved, Director Seegers, seconded Director Hiltz. Any further discussion on this? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Next up, we have 5A on our agenda, which is the Special Infrastructure Services Committee recommendation number 3 of earlier today. That's on page 44O of your package. Directors, before we adopt this recommendation, is there any wish for further debate on this? Seeing none, I'm going to ask for a motion to adopt this recommendation, please. So moved, Director McMahon. Seconded, Director Seegers. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Next up is 5B, and it is referred from earlier today, and this is the March 11th, 2021 Infrastructure Services Committee invitation to tender ITT contract award for the Seashell landfill drop-off remediation. This is pages 44P to S of your package. And I'm going to put it over to GM Rosenboom if you'd like to present this or ask for further comment.
Thank you very much. First of all, IT, can you let Robin Cooper into the meeting? Thank you. Secondly is this report was already presented this morning. It is the award report for the contract to construct and remediate the Seashell landfill and construct a new drop-off area, as well as a contract amendment to our contract with our landfill engineer to provide construction oversight. The recommendations also include a recommendation to increase the proposed short-term loan from the Municipal Finance Authority to fund the majority of this cost. Thanks, and staff are more than happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, Director Beamish, over to you first. Bill, you are muted.
So yeah, question is on the table on page wherever that is, 3 of 4 of the report. Bin rental and container services at $338,000. Is there a point in time where it becomes practical to purchase bins and then have the service in terms of their removal and drop off? I don't know. It seems like a big number for that activity.
Thank you for the question. We last year, when we deliberated and discussed with the board the current setup of the drop-off area, we definitely considered the purchasing of bins, as well as the purchasing of bins. What's included in this is primarily also the services of a roll-off truck to actually empty the bins and bring them up bring them to the different where they need to go. So at that time, we were not able to foresee that we would be in this for that long. So hindsight, the assessment could have been different, but at this point in time, these are sufficient funds to bring us to the anticipated commissioning date of the new drop-off area.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Directors, any other questions on this? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Do we have a recommendation that the board would like to make? We have from on 44P, we have the recommendation from staff. Director Toth.
Thank you, Chair. I will make the recommendations on page 44P, except for the last one, since we're obviously here at the March 11th board meeting.
Okay, I see that moved by Director Toth. Do I have a seconder, please? Seconded Director Seegers. Any further discussion on this item? See none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? Seeing none, passes. So thank you for that. Director Seegers, I know there was a follow-up that you'd like to make on this.
Yes, I'd like to request that staff investigate, including in these types of contracts, the names and bids, I guess it would be, or tender amounts for all of the, what will be the word? All of the included or all of the considered maybe applicants, and bring that back to the committee or board, wherever that should be going.
Okay. And you are making that as a motion?
Yes, please.
Okay. Do I have a seconder for that? I see a seconder. Any discussion on that or comment from staff? Go to Director Seegers as the sponsor of the motion.
Thank you. I think what I'd like to see, and I think I speak for some of my fellow directors here, is some of these contracts that we put are fairly large. We are looking at supporting our community. And so being more open and transparent about the information of who is actually putting information in gives us and the community an opportunity to evaluate that, to see whether or not there are other businesses that are local who could potentially put their names in for some of these contracts, or if not, why not, right? So it actually opens that conversation to the community, makes it more transparent, lets them see who we've awarded these contracts to, and ensures that, you know, if we have questions as well, or the community has questions about our processes, that we have the information out.
Okay, Director Toth.
Thank you, Chair. Just sort of a clarifying question. Are we looking at any and all tenders that are issued, or are we looking at ideally tenders over a certain dollar value? And then the other question is, and then this is, I guess, a broader question for my fellow directors, is do we want just the name and the total, or do we want to know if it was scored, what the scorings are compared to the overall scoring between bidders? I'd prefer to see just the overall scoring between bidders as part of that table that comes back, but be interested to hear others' thoughts.
Okay, I'm going to go to the CAO first.
One caution I would have on putting things like overall scoring down without context is it welcomes the opportunity for people to question the way things are scored against the policy. I have always been taught in the time that I've been with local government that creates a fair amount of liability to either your municipality or regional district if you were to have to defend how you're doing the actual scoring against the criteria, and you'd be potentially turning over those types of decisions to another party to interpret the board policy for you outside of staff's hands. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of times that type of information isn't provided, because there's not context around it.
Okay, Director Seegers, and then over to Director Beamish.
Thank you. Personally, I'm comfortable with just the names and the amount of the contract bid or whatever. And then to Director Toth's other question, I believe our policy dictates which kinds of contracts, like at what dollar value they have to come to the board. It might be over 100,000 or something like that. But I'm not sure. And so I would say that if it's coming to the board for a decision and it went out for tender, then that information would be part of the process. So staff are going to need to look at how to fit that, how that fits in within the Privacy Act, etc., and bring that back to us.
Okay, Director Beamish.
I agree with Director Caesar's comments just now, but the other thing is that I think I'm not too worried about the scoring, but I think there should be a realization that a unsuccessful bidder can actually ask for that and be reviewed. They have the right to actually ask why their bid wasn't accepted and to go through that kind of process. So that, but that's up to them, and very often they don't. But I'm comfortable with it following policy in terms of anything that we're asked to kind of make that decision on at the board level in public. We should have that minimum amount of background information just to know that there were other bidders and what they bid, and then if one of the board members wants to ask a question, that's up to us. But that's our due diligence. Thank you.
Okay. Director Hiltz, I had your hand up and then I saw you put it down. Did you still wish to speak, or are you okay?
Sure. I'll just. It was the unsuccessful bidders and the amount. That was the key things. And for me, it will help with the oversight in evaluating the highest and best value, because I'll be able to see what the other values were. So, and generically, it's called the award report, I believe, under the procurement. So we're looking at yeah. So I'm all the scoring stuff at the first step. Like the unsuccessful bidders and the number would be a good first step for me. If staff was to come back with further recommendations about enhancing the award report, aligning with other, like the town of Gibson's and District of Seashell, that could be in later on. But as a first step, just those two pieces for me.
Okay. Thank you, Director Hiltz. Over to Director Ties.
Yeah, I think the amount and the company works well as long as the lowest bidder is chosen. If the lowest bidder is, however, not chosen, then I'm guessing the board will probably want some kind of rationale as to why it didn't get chosen. And so I don't necessarily need to see a score, but maybe some sort of just to mention that this bid was chosen because of better XYZ criteria, and I think otherwise, yeah, I think if it's the lowest bid, great. But if it's not the lowest bid, then I think board will probably want to know why.
Yeah, which is important pieces of our procurement policy too. So because we do have the pieces in there about social procurement as well. So to help with that additional piece. So I'm not seeing any other, I do see the CAO has unmuted himself.
I was just going to say that we're happy to take this under advisement and try to address it in future reports. We'll come back to you.
Okay, terrific. So we have a motion on the floor. Corporate officer, do we have a good read on that, on what the motion is?
Or do you need something read back, or are you asking if we have
well, I'll look to directors. Do you need something read back? We're good? Is everyone clear? Okay, so I will call the question to the motion on the floor. All those in favor? Thank you. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. And moving on, just bear with me one moment while I get back to my agenda, my amended agenda. Okay, so we have no communications today. We don't have motions, but we have first, second, and third reading of a bylaw. So this is number 6 on the agenda. It's Annex D, or page 45 to 46 of your package. And we're looking for first, second, and third reading of this bylaw today. And it is voting all directors. It is a weighted vote, as is listed out on your agenda page. So I am going to ask for a motion for first reading of the water meter installations project loan authorization bylaw number 730-2021. A motion for first reading, please. So moved, Director Toth, seconded Director Seegers. Any discussion on this, Director Toth?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted a clarity on the voting for this because it does say voting Town of Gibson's. And it is a bylaw associated with the regional water service.
Okay, thank you. Very good question. Over to our corporate officer to discuss that.
Thank you, Chair. So at board, our voting is in accordance with the Local Government Act, and because it's long-term voting, all directors have a vote, and it is a weighted vote.
Okay, that clarifies it for Director Toth. Thank you very much, corporate officer. Seeing no more questions, I will call the question. All those in favor of first reading? Thank you. Any opposed? Okay, seeing none, we will now ask for a motion for second reading of the water meter installations project loan authorization bylaw number 730-2021. So moved, second reading. Director McMahon, seconded by Director Ties. Any further discussion on this? Director Seegers.
Thank you. I would hope that the community has sufficient information and has seen that this board is taking water supply seriously. We have done a lot of work since the previous time this came forward to the community. We will ensure that during this process, we're going to get sufficient information out, and we would request that the community really be informed when they look at their actions in either being in favor or opposing this bylaw that we've put forward today. I hope that we're successful this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Seegers. Director Toth.
Thank you, Chair. Totally forgot it in listening to Director Seegers' comments. So if I remember, I'll put my hand back up. Otherwise, it's not like we won't see this again. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Director Toth. I will say between meetings today, I did have a very quick phone conversation with our CAO and our manager of communications and community engagement. And there is more information coming out in the next couple of weeks around water, community pieces and stuff. So similar to what we did for utility billing. So that will help to inform going forward. Director Toth, are you no longer speechless?
I am no longer speechless. I just wanted to thank staff for the slide deck as part of this morning's presentation, because there was a couple of slides in there that really illustrate why water source initiatives alone are not enough for this. And I know that I'm going to be sharing several of those slides out as part of my communications through this. So that was all I wanted to comment on. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Toth, and thank you to staff for all the work on this as well. So with that, I'm going to call the question on second reading. All those in favor of second reading of this bylaw, please raise your hands. Thank you. Those opposed? Motion carries. We will now ask for a motion for third reading of the water meter installations project loan authorization bylaw number 730-2021. So moved, third reading. Director Seegers, seconded by Director Toth. Any further discussion or comment on this? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? Seeing none, it passes. So there we go. On with an AAP process. So thank you very much. Next up on our list is the director's reports. I am going to ask that first hand up is the first one that gives their report, please. Director Beamish. And you're on mute.
Brian, yeah, thank you, Chair. I have very little to report. That's why I was first. I'd just like to acknowledge that we're going through very similar things that Seashelt and the RD are going through in terms of budget now and going through that process. And we have set March 23rd at 7 p.m. for a special meeting to dialogue on the budget. So we'll be doing that from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. going through our budget process. I think we'll try to set it up so that each department will have kind of a room and that people can move between rooms and talk to different department heads and a counselor and talk about aspects of a infrastructure budget or a planning budget or things like that. So there's some time to have some one-on-one with the planner, the director of infrastructure and things of this nature, and talk about the budget and projects that are coming up. So that's March 23rd. If anyone cares to join us, you're invited. So that, and other than that, to say supportive housing is open. The artwork is up. It looks good. There's a article today in the Coast Reporter about it that Sophie Knowles had put in. We continue to be concerned as well about the affordable housing situation and housing in general. But hopefully the new 40 units opening up will go a long way towards solving some of our immediate problems. So thank you for that. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you, Director Beamish. And when you say your budget consultation and you're going from room to room, will that be virtually or are you doing it in person?
It'll be on Zoom. So we'll be virtually. Yeah. So, yeah. That's how it will be.
Okay. Thank you for, as is everything right now. Okay. I had Director Toth with the next hand up. And then I'm looking for a volunteer for after Director Toth. Director Toth, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I put up my hand quickly as Director Beamish did because I also don't have much to report at this time. The District of Seashelt has a public participation session, our next one for our budget process on Monday, the 15th at 12 p.m. Typically, the budget participation sessions have been sort of referencing the committee of the whole previous, the materials that were presented within that, but we are willing to take and answer questions on sort of anything within the budget process as they arise. You're all welcome to that. I do see a scheduling conflict in my calendar, but yeah, feel free to share the word with anybody who asks. Other than that, I've got nothing to report this time around. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Director Toth. Next hand I had up was Director Paul, and then over to Director Hills. So, Director Paul, you're next.
It's all quiet on the Eastern Front. Things are moving along apace. We've managed to get ourselves through the worst of our budgetary. We did a presentation and it was well received. We're still working diligently to try to figure out our capital budget, which is all over the map, but we're getting there really quick. And we're hoping to get our budget passed no later than mid next week, because that's when we have to have it done. So I think all things are being equal, we're doing rather well. Yeah, all quiet. I got a team working really hard on the Rapid Housing Initiative, and they've managed to corral somebody from BC Housing. I'm not sure who it was, but they're having really positive discussions. So I'm ever so hopeful that we might have some movement on that front to report out in the not too distant future. I look forward to the discussions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director Paul. That's really good news about the work with BC Housing. That would be fantastic. Step, I had Director Hiltz, and then I'll look for a volunteer for after Director Hiltz.
Okay, thanks, Chair. I'm the volunteer for now. Just two items. Last Saturday was the Gibsons and District Public Library AGM, and so they had the Zoom AGM, first one that they've ever had, largest attendance that they've ever had at an AGM, and so they're ready to go. So yeah, that's a good story for them. And on March the 3rd was this Islands Trust had a 2050 virtual open house. And this for me is another Zoom opportunities where we get to go to these places. And the thing that I'm still learning about the Islands Trust, and it is unique. There is only one in BC, which I keep forgetting. There is a whole bunch of regional districts. There's a whole bunch of municipalities. And so there's this idea that local governments have a purpose where the Islands Trust has an object. And this is in legislation. So it's quite interesting that in the Islands Trust, the object is to preserve and protect the trust area. So they actually have a mandate to listen to the environment, which is kind of an interesting thing that is unique. Whereas regional district has a purpose, they have an object. So it's just different ways these things come about. So just as an awareness, acknowledging that the Islands Trust is unique in British Columbia, it's unique amongst local governments, and I'm still learning about it. So, it's nice to be able to participate and listen. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Director Hiltz. Next up, I have Director Ties and then Director Lee.
Thank you. Yeah, much has happened in the last couple of weeks. We went through budget round 2. We did some budget presentations. We met with the Seashell First Nation around the budget. We had that housing meeting, which was very productive, and I thought that it was well organized and well run, and with action items coming out of it, which many meetings often just say, "Oh, we should do something," and then nothing ever happens. So hopefully this one gains some momentum. I also published my newsletter in which I tentatively shared that I had created a post in my FAQ section saying why we may not need a new highway. And please do read it before you pass judgment. And yesterday I got to be a guest at the Elphinstone Community Association meeting and listen to Mike Simpson speak about the UN Sustainable Development Goals and how we as a local community can be part of that. And he didn't have any answers, but it certainly gave some awareness and made us think. And I think it was a worthwhile time spent. And thank you for the Elphinstone community for letting me be part of that. Thanks. And yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you, Director Ties. I have Director Lee and then Director McMahon.
Thank you, Chair. I was scared to say pass. I got too much hassle last time. I must say it was an enjoyable and productive budget meeting between the SCRD and the Seashell. The clear communications was refreshing and I think very helpful. I been doing a little bit of neighborhood visiting on, there's 2 properties here locally and they're treasures, but I'm afraid it's junk, has spread across the front yard, across their side yard, onto the road right away, and in one situation actually blocking a road right away to the beach. I really look forward to additional staff to stick handle these delicate situations, and I'm hoping once the motivation is there for the homeowner, I'm sure the local neighborhood will help with the cleanup. They want to help. They want to clean it up, but it's just being blocked right now. I'm afraid one person's treasures is another person's junk, but if you keep it on your own property and you keep it hid, such as I do, I think it's okay to keep that junk, even though you shouldn't. I met with our local COVID response group. They're still meeting once a month. We're going to have our own local doctor. He'll be here in April, end of April. And I found out that the typical load for a doctor is around 900 patients. So I got a little bit of new education I'm sure we have over 900 people that would be happy to see a doctor here. So I don't think he's going to have any problem with the patient load. Matter of fact, he's already, I think, a third of the way there without even announcing when he was going to be open. The other thing is the food numbers continue to creep up on the food bank. We're getting 2 or 3 new customers each week, regular customers. And in fact, the numbers have tripled since COVID started. So that's not a good news. That's indicative of our economy right now. Some good news, though, is that the in-school programs are now being allowed. And the local community schools organized a team talk with grade 7s, and apparently it's extremely successful. And they have a mountain bike program after school, and that's very well attended. So there's some good news in all this as well. So, and that's all I got to report. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Director Lee. Director McMahon, and then Director Seegers.
Sure. Thanks to Director Ties for launching off the Elphinstone Community Association meeting last night. It was really hard to follow, you know, climate catastrophe, war, starvation, and the great questions of humanity with the report from your rural director. But what the heck, at least some people stuck it out. I was at the Scredo meeting on Monday. They are working a lot on our housing emergency. Colin is taking a big role there, and that's really, really helpful. They're also working on draft terms of reference for a regional growth strategy. And they're looking at doing a business case for a highway bypass. This idea started before Modi announced that they were doing a bypass study, but as we know from previous studies that they do not cover things like the business case. So that should be pretty interesting. And then they've come up with a great strategy for the Business Excellence Awards this year that is, I think, both going to be more popular, more successful, and less work for pretty much everybody involved. So yay, another win. I was at a housing emergency subcommittee meeting last night. I will say that these meetings have made me realize how little I know about the rental housing market in my area. I have a lot of suspicions about what it's like, but that's a whole lot different than actually knowing. And it's left me with a great many questions about who even legislates what parts of rental housing. So that's going to be interesting going forward. I don't really have a whole lot else to say because the last couple of weeks was budget. And yeah, I think we're all pretty done with that. So thanks very much.
Thank you, Director McMahon. Director Seegers, over to you.
Thank you. I have a question, first of all, for Director McMahon. With regards to Scredo, I know that there's an iced tea grant that is available for staffing for regional economic development. I'm wondering if that was brought up and mentioned at the meeting.
No, I don't remember hearing that.
Thank you. I'll follow up on that then.
Okay.
Okay. I'd like to talk about a few things. Let's see. What have we got here? I'm just going to go through my calendar. I met with the Innovation Lab group. So that is Sunshine Coast Regional Economic Development Organization, the Resource Center, Community Futures, and a couple of other people who are coming on board. They're looking at raising funds and applying for grants for the long-term lease that they're looking at taking in the House of Clans. That space sounds like it'll be amazing. It'll be an innovation hub kind of thing for the community. So excited about that project. It's the first meeting I've been to for a while. And then on Wednesday the 3rd, Chair Pratt, Director Beamish, and I attended a meeting with Capilano University where they're proposing, it was an initial discussion around a city studio project here on the Sunshine Coast. So those of you who, are you all familiar with the city studio, what that is? Okay, so basically it's a program that aligns students, university students, could be at any level, first year, second year, all the way up through grad students, with projects that an area, a municipality or a regional district or whatever has, and we meet at the beginning, kind of lay out what those projects are. They have a staff member who works with them. They also have their instructor at the university, and then they design a project that addresses that, and they implement it. There's a meeting with staff halfway through and a meeting at the end. And they gave us a couple of examples. They're going to be putting some information together for us to bring to our various boards and councils. And we'd be looking probably initially at a pilot. So minimal impact on staff, but great outcomes on the other end. And it's more like real world experience for the students as it ties into their classes. So that, like I said, we had an initial conversation. We said, yes, we're interested in potentially moving this forward. We need information for our boards and councils, and they'll put that together and get that to us. On the Saturday, I attended the track session they had with Mikhail Colville Anderson. He's from Copenhagen, lives over in, over there, but has a tie to the Sunshine Coast because he has a sister who has a place on Texada. And so he comes here. He's been coming here every summer. So they had a conversation with him because it was about designing better movement on the coast. And one of the huge takeaways I took from that, he said, we've been focusing on advocating with the Ministry of Transport around our highway. He said, what you need to look at is you need to advocate with multiple branches in the government. You need to look at tourism. You need to talk to transportation, yes, but you also need to talk to education and you need to talk to public health because they all have a role in active transportation. He said, so it's not just one ministry, you deal with all of them, same message moving forward. And then he said, it's also, once you actually start putting some of that together, then you look at branding transportation as a regional economic development strategy for your area. Okay, so he brought that forward. And I tied this back to Director Beamish when he talked about e-bikes potentially in Lower Gibsons. And I'll come back to that one in a second. What else? Sunshine Coast Homelessness Advisory Committee meeting, and I believe Director McMahon's going to be bringing something forward for that. I think that's all I'm going to touch on there. Our Committee of the Whole meeting. We had a number of presentations yesterday. They would, I guess you'd consider them to be our community groups. So the Seashell Library was there. If you go to the Seashell Library report as part of the agenda package, on page 19 are some pictures. Sorry, there's something going around by on the road. On page 19 is some pictures because this year is the 25th year of the library. And on that, there's a picture there showing the dedication, when they were starting to do this. And there's a picture there of Director Andrew Allen's dad, because he was the chair of the library board. So he's right in front and center. And in the back is Mike Shanks. He was one of the counselors at that point. And Clark Hamilton. And in our meeting, she actually went through the names of all the people in the picture. So that was quite interesting. And then Sergeant Don Newman, the acting detachment commander right now for the RCMP, did a presentation, some great slides in there, gives a lot of really pertinent data about the status of the staffing and what they've seen in trends with, increases in crime rates, for example, or a couple of different things. Very interesting. Go and check that out as well. And then coming back to Director Beamish and his comment about e-bikes. We had Paul Kamen there, the executive director of Sunshine Coast Tourism, and he said that one of the things that Sunshine Coast Tourism is going to be looking at is an e-bike strategy for both the lower and the upper Sunshine Coast. Also some grants that they've gotten some funding through destination marketing, and we will be looking for some, or putting out some grant opportunities for various organizations on the coast. They did talk about the fact that they had been using a membership fee model, and for started out with the major accommodators were paying a fee, the minor ones weren't. But then when COVID hit, they actually removed the fee for all members. So they've been looking at that. They said they currently have 300 members, and they're looking at opening it up to everybody in the tourism industry. No fee. They think that would increase the membership, but it would also get more of a cohesiveness among the tourism businesses sort of on the Sunshine Coast. So I think that's all. Oh, and the MRDT passed. So that's been submitted to the province. The MRDT has passed. So they'll be moving forward with that 2%. That's all I got. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to go back to Director Lee for a moment. He has something else to update that he missed earlier.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I wanted to share a little story with everybody, and it's the dual language signs in our area, and not necessarily just in our area. It's been up and down the highway, have been painted, and some young people from our area went out and they cleaned the paint off all of them, and then they took pictures and they posted it in Facebook, and there was an avalanche of likes. And so I thought this is an example of where actions can speak louder than words. So I was very proud of them. So I thought I'd mention that. Thanks.
Thank you for sharing, Director Lee. Director Seeger's busy as always. Sorry, I meant to say that. We're still on your report. I only have a couple of things that I'll bring up because I know one of the things was around the housing meeting, and I think Director McMahon's item of new business will probably take care of that. And so one thing I just wanted to highlight earlier this week was International Women's Day. So I hope as the elected women and the women that sit around our SLT table, want to just raise my hands to you and say thank you for all you do, and thank you to all of the men around us that support us as well. So it's International Women's Day is it's so interesting to see comments still that are like, well, you know, why do we need an International Women's Day? It's like, well, you know, we still haven't elected. We've had one female prime minister in Canada for, I think, 3 months. And it's the only reason she was there is she was taking over the leadership of a party. We've never elected a female prime minister of Canada. Still, a third of all elected positions in Canada are women, when more than 50% of the population is. So I think it's really important to still make sure that we still need to strive for more equity for women going forward. So I'd just like to remind everyone that was the day that happened earlier this week. Otherwise, most of the things I was at have already been reported on, so we'll leave it like there. One thing that is upcoming that I've been asked to share is the C. Shelton District Chamber of Commerce is having their AGM on March 26th at 11:30 via Zoom, and we've all been invited to attend. So, of course, any business owners in the area that would like to attend as well or become members, once again, the AGM is on March 26th. So with that, I will forward on down to the next item on our agenda, our amended agenda that was amended. We have the 3 items of new business. So we will start with Director McMahon, your housing emergency or our housing emergency, not just yours, but ours.
Yes, we all share it. Lucky us, and that includes the rural areas. We received a letter from the Sunshine Coast Homeless Advisory Committee asking for a motion to officially defer any bylaw enforcement requiring rental evictions. I understand from staff that there is a report coming forward to next week's planning committee. Is that the case?
I'd go over to CEO McKinley.
Yes,
Or
there.
GM Hall.
Staff are all, and GM Hall is welcome to provide some additional context, but we are already well into drafting a report for next week's PCD for the committee that has some staff recommendations on moving forward on housing.
Good. Thank you very much. I just wanted to acknowledge that so that everybody understood we had received and taken seriously that piece of correspondence.
And along with that, at the housing meeting, at the emergency housing meeting that the District of Sechelt hosted last week, there were 6 calls to action that came out of that. We haven't discussed those as a board, but it would probably be good to put those in or reference those in the committee report if possible. Or should we put maybe the correspondence or the minutes from that on the PCD agenda? I'd look to staff for GM Hall.
From staff's point of view, adding the correspondence to the agenda would be preferred, given that we're looking to publish the agenda tomorrow. Yes. But that would acknowledge the connection between the two. Thank you.
Okay. Do you need the minutes forwarded to you, or do you have a copy of them?
I believe I have, as an attendee, I have a copy of the minutes. Thank you.
Wonderful. Director Seegers?
Thank you. Are you referring to the draft call to action, or the call to action that came out, or the minutes of the, what are you looking to have come forward as correspondence?
There's a couple of things because there's the letter that Director McMahon referenced, as well as the call to action and the minutes from the meeting. So there's a few items in there that all tie together because the Homelessness Advisory Committee also sent the emergency letter, but they all are essentially around housing, emergency housing, and all of that. So they all tie together. So it's probably good to have them in one place on a planning committee agenda for further discussion. Director McMahon, that takes care of that. Okay. Terrific. Next up, Director McMahon, you had asked for Dakota Ridge.
Right. I've received a number of requests from the community, which I think have also been sent into recreation, to see if, weather permitting, that the season at Dakota Ridge, the snow season at Dakota Ridge, could be extended past the normal date of March the 31st. This may be a moot point, you know, if the weather warms up, but I thought I would ask staff, it sounds really easy. Is it really easy?
Okay, CAO or GM Hall, who would like to? CAO.
I'll take a run at it, and then if I butcher it or GM Hall has any additional context he'd like to provide, I will absolutely welcome it. So, Director McMahon, you're correct. The idea in and of itself sounds pretty innocuous and sounds like it's probably pretty easy. And I kind of thought so too. So I asked, just in general terms, like, what are some of the things we'd have to consider? And obviously one of the big ones is clearly weather dependency, especially when you look at today and what we got coming up this weekend in terms of road conditions. However, I'll just go through a few things that we would need to consider if we were to move forward with any kind of further additional actual staff research that would lead to recommendations as to how we would pull this off. So right now, the last planned day of operating for Dakota Ridge is the 31st of March. There's no actual regulatory constraints on if we're allowed to stay open longer. Our agreement with the province is actually silent on the operational dates. Financially, alone by itself, it's not a huge cost. It's probably about $5,000 to expand service for a couple of weeks. Depends on if it snows again, how much it snows, will we have to plow the roads, will we have to do additional grooming, those types of things. The big impact might be on the HR side. It requires about 6 person days a week from our staff to run Dakota, 3 to 4 outside and 1 to 2 inside. If the season was extended, we'd be taking this time from community parks, and it would have some project and maintenance impacts as we're gearing up for the May long weekend. It might delay the water system startup at, say, Catherine Lake Campground, Lions Field. It could have impacts on sports field prep, seasonal portable toilet equipment, spring cleaning during low growth seasons, power washing, those types of things. We'd have to do some analysis on the actual impacts and what the other impacts downstream would be. The road risks is potentially substantial. It's not a question up at Dakota of if the road's going to get more or less impossible to continue using. It's only a question of when, and that's completely weather dependent. Revenues will be down because folks will be starting to do other things like working in their gardens and using their kayaks. We might have to close some trails. And if we were to look at, staffing, road monitoring, fuel, plowing, it's probably going to require driving a deficit for Dakota Ridge if late 2021 operations remain status quo. So those are a few things, but we'd actually have to dig into that in more detail if we were to look at an actual season extension. And Ian, if I missed anything or butchered something, you don't look horrified, so I don't think I got it too far wrong.
CM Hall, is the CAO okay this time?
He did okay. He did okay.
That's
Okay.
Thank you, CAO.
Okay, you done good, Dean. Director McMahon.
Yeah, I think the best thing would be to share that information on the Dakota Ridge Facebook page, because that's where the road conditions are posted. So the people who are concerned about it, would see the information. Because, in other words, it's not as easy as it sounds. And and who can predict the weather? I don't know. I don't feel the need to take this any further at this point.
Okay. Thank you, Director McMahon. Up next, Director Hiltz, you had the Dakota Bowl agreement.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. As people might have seen the press releases, it was, I believe, March 1st that there was an announcement of an agreement between the Squamish Nation and the provincial government. This area lies in Dakota Creek, which is part of Area F. So that's why I'm kind of speaking to it, I think. The SCRD does have some downstream interests towards the McNair estuary. And so the motion that the thing that I'm pondering is to offer some congratulations to the province and the Squamish Nation. This has been a 10-year project, as I understand. I don't find a lot of information out about the details of it, but I think offering the congratulations is to coming to an agreement would be something that the board could do, and perhaps also to, I'm not sure what. Just to offer if there's assistance that we can provide from the regional district. So I don't want to commit staff to this, but whether that would be part of an ongoing role that staff would play if the province or the Squamish ask for information on stuff that the SCRD is interested. So it would be a letter of congratulation and an offer of assistance. And I'm thinking to both the Squamish and the province, because they're the ones who the agreement is between. So that's my suggestion at this point.
Okay. Would you like to make that as a motion, or I have Director McMahon has her hand up? So
sure, I'd like to hear just comments before we go into a recommendation. Sure.
Okay, Director McMahon.
Yeah, I was thinking a little more of a thank you, but this is a absolute wonderful area, and thank heavens it's being preserved. And we usually are writing to our partners in government when we want something or when we're pretty annoyed at them, especially Flinro. So I think it behooves us to write and thank them when they do something that the community here really appreciates. We really do.
Okay. All right. So Director Hiltz, how would you like to word this motion?
Well, I like the idea of the thank you as well for taking the step of these parties to come up with this solution. So to write a letter of thanks and congratulations to the parties involved in making this agreement happen. Yes, that would be the motion. Details to follow by whoever drafts the letter. Yes.
Okay. Corporate officer, is that sufficient for a motion? Okay, I saw that seconded by Director McMahon. Corporate officer feels that's the gist of the motion is sufficient. So that's good. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Okay, thank you, Director Hiltz, for bringing that forward. It is nice to say thank you and congratulations rather than constantly, as Director McMahon said, telling them what they've done wrong and what we need from them. So from the province. So that's always good. Okay, so with that brings us to the end of our amended agenda. We do have a portion for in camera. So to our attendee, if Connie is still, oh no, we've lost Connie. But anyways, we do have Aiden in there. But I'm going to ask for a motion that the public be excluded from attendance at the meeting in accordance with section 91A, C, E, G, K, I, and 2B of the community charter. So moved, Director Seegers, seconded Director Ties. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. And welcome back to the regularly scheduled board meeting of the Sunshine Coast Regional District on March 11th, 2021. Seeing no more business for today, and I'm looking around trying not to make eye contact with anyone. Just I would hate to see an arm going up right now, but I will entertain it. I would be more happy to entertain a motion to adjourn, please. So moved. And do I have a seconder for that? I see a seconder. And would all be in favor of that motion? Yes. Okay. Thank you. I see no opposed. Thank you all for joining us today. We are adjourned, and enjoy the rest of your March 11th.
Question. Are we continuing on with the other? No.